Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. You know the song, you know what that means. That means it's time for the James Freel Show. I am your host, James Freel, and as always, I am very happy to have you with me. If I go out on a limb here, I'm going to go ahead and say I think I got a decent show prepared for you. I know that's not always the message that is conveyed here on this show. Generally, it starts out pretty negative, but I'm determined to bounce back. I think I left in the last few episodes saying that if I'm going to keep with the sports analogy, that means that this franchise is currently in the off-season trying to rebuild after a rough season where they didn't even win 60 games. That's all right though. And I'm not going to bounce back by talking about it. So, let's go ahead and get this show rolling. Like I said, this is the second week in a row now where I haven't had the physical paper in front of me, and I like that because there are a lot of radio personalities where you can hear the paper shuffling, and of course that also kind of reminds me of a lawyer sitting back in court and something went wrong, so they start shuffling papers to make it look like they're actually doing something. Why are you bashing attorneys? You don't know anything about them. Alright, well anyway, I'm about to get started, but before I do, as always, we are going to start with News for the Uninformed. A session that I personally take a decent amount of pride in. I think it's one of the few things that keeps this podcast going. It motivates me so that when I listen back to these in however many years, I'll know what current events were going on at the time. Our top story: at least 3 men were killed in a shooting Thursday at the Fifth Third Center in Cincinnati, Ohio's Fountain Square, and 2 others were injured, Cincinnati Police Chief Elliot Isaac said. The suspect was shot multiple times as 4 police officers approached. He died at the scene, Isaac said. Now, I think it's kind of obvious to a lot of you why that story made it on, even though it's not a huge... Although I do think I saw it on the national news this evening. It's a topic I'm going to get to today, but obviously Cincinnati is where I live. It's where I call home. And I don't want to be that person who takes a tragedy and makes it all about themselves, because I kind of feel like that's something that gets done, and maybe we're wired as humans to do that, and I'm not trying to throw shade at people if you do, but the thing is I'm about to do that right now. I've been in the very lobby where the shooting took place, and it didn't shake me to see it happen. A lot of people are saying, oh my goodness, I've been there. Because, yeah, that's where that shooting took place. It's about 10 yards away from the hub of Cincinnati, where where everyone gets on and off buses. All the buses report to that area. It's called Government Square. And for about 2 or 3 years, I took the bus pretty much every day. And I still do take the bus, not as much, but if it saves me putting miles on my car, I like taking the bus when I can. And it didn't shake me to see it happen. I don't know why, maybe it should, but it is crazy, because it's like, yeah, I've seen that happen. I mean, I'm watching this, and you see all these shootings on the nightly news all the time, and you think, well, you're not familiar with it, and then when you go and you see it, it's eerie. But for some reason, even though I was so close, I've been in there several times. And anyone who lives in Cincinnati has been down to Fountain Square, and just seeing these body cameras, it's incredible. It's just crazy that could happen. But like I said, I wasn't shooken by it. Hats off to the law enforcement who showed up, because you watch that security footage, it is pretty amazing what they do. Oh, James, did this become the rambling section already? No, it did not. Hold on, folks, hold on. Running into a little bit of wow. Hold on. Gotta keep this entertaining a little bit. Alright, I'm back. That was about 10 seconds of silence, but anyway, that's what happened. Like I said, it wasn't a major news story as far as the nation goes, although it did make the national news. It was a big deal here in my hometown and where I live. Alright, so what do we got? In sports, the NFL season kicked off last night with the Atlanta Falcons taking on the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. After a weather delay, it was the Eagles over the Falcons with a score of 18-12, I believe it was. Yeah, last night when my guy drew this up, he drew it up last night, and he knew I wanted this to be in the sports, and he was writing it before the game was over, so he had left those blank. I believe it was 18-12, and from what I hear, the Eagles they didn't do so well in the first half. I think they were down 6-3, and they were getting booed as they were going into the locker rooms. I'm just thinking, wow, you guys just won the Super Bowl, and you're booing your team. And you're taking on a tough team. It's not like you're taking on Cleveland. Jeez, you fans are spoiled, and I don't think you deserved that Super Bowl win as a fan base. Obviously, the team deserved it. They won the game. But I don't think that fan base deserved it after seeing what they do. I mean, what kind of fan base throws snowballs at Santa Claus? I don't know if I'm crazy about them claiming the title City of Brotherly Love. Although I guess that name does sort of imply, I guess brotherly love is kind of like, is that tough love? Is that the genre? That kind of love? I don't think so. I think brotherly love is, I don't know. If I could, this isn't the rambling section, James. Keep it together. Keep it together. All right, and in pop culture, the Today weatherman Al Roker revealed on Wednesday that he'll be playing Old Joe in the award-winning Broadway musical Waitress. Old Joe is a curmudgeonly old diner who ultimately turns out to not be that bad of a guy. And while playing the part, Al will sing a thoughtful key song that he's been rehearsing, Take It From an Old Man. That's cool. Al Roker seems like he's been around forever. I mean, he's been around ever since I've known him. I mean, ever since I've been aware of the Today Show. He's a very likable personality. That'll be a big deal if I live to see his death. I don't know when I'm going to die. I don't know when he's going to die. Who knows? But he was kind of a staple in my childhood. All right, now back on to the only thing that really is anything. I guess it's not even original, but moving on. We're going to talk now about, of course, the ramblings. I'm not going to talk about the rambling section. I'm going to do the rambling section. Before I jump into the topics I have typed out here, I really wanted to print them out. I want to talk about today. This will be sort of off the cuff. Let me adjust this. Get ready for some cheap sounding noise. Oh yeah. So today I was at work, and work was a crazy day. I work in a hospital in a clinical engineering department, and our department is in the basement of the building. And our actual engineer representative, who's kind of the go-between between us and legal, he's this old man. He looks like Gallagher. He really does. That's who he always reminds me of. I have great respect for him because he's one of those people who you can tell legitimately does not care what you think about him. And he would never say that. He just acts it. He just lives it. And he if you listen to him talk, I hesitate to say, you start to ask, are you full of crap? Because all the things he says he's done, this man must have lived at least half a dozen lifetimes. But anyway, he comes in and says, they're evacuating the ED, the emergency department. We're like, oh, why is that? And he's like, we're hearing a lot of noise from these walls. We're worried about something collapsing, and we're in the basement. So if the building collapses, there's really no hope for us. And so everyone in that office starts thinking, oh, well, do we leave? Do we not? And eventually we decide, you know what? If we're instructed to, if it's that dangerous, they will instruct the whole hospital to evacuate, or at least its employees. In hindsight, I'm starting to think, maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they would just get the ones they absolutely know. They may not. I don't know. I trust the people. I guess it's in their best interest that their employees don't die. But anyway, so we decide to stay down there. About 20 minutes later, we start to get this just intense smell of gasoline. And now we're thinking, the lead clinical engineer is just like, all right, everybody out. And so it was kind of dead in the office today. Normally there's about, I don't know, between 12 and 15 people in there. Today there was only about 7 or 8. And so we all went upstairs into the huge lobby. And we think, well, shouldn't we, like, I don't want to incite panic, but if there's a gas leak, everyone should be getting out. But regardless, we all decided, oh, no, let's just go down to the cafeteria. So I ended up drinking coffee today. And I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show. I love the taste of coffee. I love the smell of coffee. I like to drink it with no mixers. I like enjoying the flavor. But I can't stand what it does to me. Well, that's not entirely true. I love the first hour of it. I feel like I can take on the world. But then the next 3 hours after that initial hour are a nightmare. It feels like the inside of my intestines are convulsing. Jeez, that was kind of graphic. It's just not a good experience. And I have two options when I drink coffee. I can keep going to keep the on top of the world feeling going, but the more I do that, the worse the crash is going to be. So I wound up drinking 2 cups because it was still early. So I'm like, well, I can't feel like garbage this soon. Anyway, so long story short, we came back down. They took care of whatever leak it was. I never got a straight and direct answer on what exactly caused that leak, but that was my day in a nutshell. I also got to work in a few patient rooms. I got to safety test things with patients who were present, and that, in a way, made me reevaluate why I really enjoy the job I'm in, because a lot of times when you're working on the same device, it can be kind of monotonous, and you don't realize that these devices can mean life or death for someone. So it was a cool experience. I got to shadow some seasoned techs on what they were doing. Today was a good day, despite the fact that I don't feel like I got a whole lot done. On the way home, I had this stressful drive, but I stopped by a Walmart because now that football season has started up, I've decided I should get a digital antenna because I just need local stations so that I can watch all the local football games that we get this year. And man, football season always creeps up on me like this. It's like I can't blink now because now that football season has started, the second I blink, it's going to be mid-February, and I'll be like, "What happened to football? What do you mean the Falcons won the Super Bowl? What are you talking about? I don't even remember that." To me, it still feels like the last Super Bowl was that Patriots versus Seahawks, which was a pretty. I remember I had to work during most of it, but I caught the tail end of it, and I was in such shock. Like at the time, I wanted the Seahawks to win. Now I'm kind of a Tom Brady fanboy, a little bit, but whoa, jeez. It's 13 minutes in, and I have not even started all of the rambling topics. I better get on there. All right. What do we got here? Okay, so there is this excellent YouTube channel. I was very lazy on Wednesday. As I mentioned last week, I've been using the gym at my school. I kept doing that this week, although I did miss one day for another topic I will be getting into. And you know what? Let's do that one first. And no, we're gonna do it. Basically, I was. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I can transition this. So, on Wednesday, my school is very close to my place of employment, and I have to leave my place of employment to go to school. And if I park at the hospital, I have to take this shuttle, and it can be very long and unreliable. So I take a almost as unreliable, but not quite, method of getting from the place I work to my school, which is the public bus. So what I do is I park at my school, and then I'm able to take the public bus to the hospital, and then when I'm done, I can take the bus back from the hospital to my school. Now I have to get there very early for this to work out the way it should. So I parked on a very low area. I like to back in because it was early in the morning. I didn't have to worry about hitting anyone else. And I backed into very thick bushes. And I opened the back. My duffel bag was in the trunk. I pulled that out. And I didn't realize that it was unzipped. And I didn't realize this until I walked down to the bus stop. And I turned around. I'm like, geez, what did I lose? Luckily, the important things were in their own individual compartments. But I wound up losing earbuds, my iPhone charger, and what I didn't know was my combinational lock that I use at the gym locker room. So when I came back that afternoon, I couldn't find it. But though when I came Man, I'm a horrible storyteller. When I initially came back from my place of employment to my school, I looked at the bush and I saw my phone charger and my earbuds were right there on top of the bush. Went inside, realized I didn't have my lock. I was so flustered from the day, I just decided to go home. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Maybe I'll have to buy a new lock, and it upset me that no one knows who I am, so I'm gonna go ahead and give away the combination of my lock. Uh, yeah, I'm comfortable doing this. I was upset that I lost it because the combination to it was 3, 33, 37, and I loved that because it's like field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal, touchdown, and it's easy to remember. And I'm like, man, the odds of finding that again, I'm so used to that. I wonder if I can remember my junior. No, I can't. I can't remember my junior high or any of my high school locks. But so then I thought that night, like, I'm so frustrated, and then I thought, wait a second. I found my earbuds and my phone charger there. The combination of lock is a lot bigger, so it's gonna fall through. And that morning, I drove in, parked there again. I didn't park. I just stopped by there to check. And it took a little bit because it was a torrential downpour. The bushes were extremely wet, but sure enough, there it was, lying down there. It took a while. I tried not to make sure it didn't rust, but I did find it. But since I just went home because I was flustered on Wednesday, I just spent a lot of time on the internet, and there's this great. Oh shoot, is it still going? Looks like it? Okay, sorry, I kept the. Sometimes I keep the internet up, and you don't care about this. There's this great YouTube channel called Defunct Land, and it is the perfect. If you like amusement park rides, it like mixes that with nostalgia. And he just released this a YouTube video, and each of his videos are like these mini documentaries about amusement parks or any form of mostly amusement parks that are no longer in operation, and he sort of gives the history. And one that he did is my favorite was on the Son of Beast, which, if you know, in the amusement park Kings Island is a ride. I got to ride it once, and right now there are rumors that it might be coming back. I don't think that's gonna happen. Although it did make the local news because another channel, I believe no, not Coaster, Theme Park Crazy, either that or Coaster Studios. But the point is, I loved that ride. This channel is great. Check it out. I watched it that night. It just, especially if you're familiar with it, I remember seeing a little Travel Channel documentary on Disney Quest. I went to Disney World once when I was 10 for my 10th birthday, and I always remember where I was that year. I had a great time at Disney World. I think at some point in my life, hopefully, I'll be able to go back because it's a really cool place. Even it was really dreary on the day on my birthday when I was there. I was actually there. There was a tragedy that happened while me and my family were there. There was a young boy who I believe was only 4 years old that died back in 2005. I think I just gave away my age there. That's all right. That's all right. It's a show. I don't know where I'm going with that, but that was a reference point of my childhood. And Disney Quest, I remember what I thought was cool in the video that I saw. You could design your own roller coaster and then ride it in these VR things. And it's interesting. The VR buzz that happened 2016, 2017, and a little bit of 2015 also was kind of the second VR wave that occurred, because I didn't realize how big it was in the 90s. It must have been so much worse than it is now. I mean, and even now it's really not that great. I've tried out the Oculus Rift with a very powerful computer. It's fun, but it gets old pretty fast. It's nothing you would do if you're an intense gamer, especially because you really can't walk around. It's clunky. Some of it's fun, some of it gives you a headache, some of it gives you motion sickness. I like doing there are like tennis games that are fun, but what's cool is you can talk to people who you're playing against. They'll be like, hey, can you hear me? And they'll like shake their head yes or no. It's like, are you going to talk back? Paintball's pretty good on it also, but again, the problem is that, you're not really running. You're pointing your arrow and telling yourself where to go. But all in all, it's a cool experience. I'm glad I convinced a friend. What is that? I don't know. I convinced a friend to buy it. I didn't buy it myself. I could never afford that because it's kind of like a boat. You don't want to be the guy with a boat. You want to be the guy who has a friend who has a boat because you don't want to have to deal with all that. One thing also, I'm really speeding through what I have written down here. Maybe this is a sign that I should just go off the cuff instead of, well, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. I still have a whole third of a show left to do, and I've burned up a lot of my material. I did a lot of rambling, and I thought, oh geez, I got to get through this fast now. And then I realized, oh, I didn't have to go that fast. But the topics I have written were kind of lame. So my place of employment, I'm currently just a co-op, but they are hiring, and I don't see myself working in the hospital environment. I see myself more as a traveling field service person. But either way, I applied for the position. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't. I don't think I'm going to be offered it. I think there are several more qualified people than me who are very interested in it. But we'll see how it goes. I have a bit of an ethical dilemma going on here that I would like feedback from any listener I might have. I remember when I did this live one time. I can't do that again for reasons that I can't really explain. So, at my place of employment, there is a 24/7 staff. So there's someone who works like a night shift, someone who works first, second, third shift, and the desk I sit at is a full-time employee's desk at night, and they happen to also have an iPhone. They leave their charger there. I use it sometimes because it's right there. I don't think there's a big deal with that. So if you recall, Wednesday I had lost my iPhone charger, and when I got there, I noticed that their charger, they had an iPhone charger still there, but it was different. It was a different charger. And so I'm like, oh, interesting, whatever, just glad I can still charge it. Maybe I should ask if it's okay, but I mean, no harm, no foul, I say. But here's where the ethical dilemma comes in. So I'm working throughout the day, and I see the old cable that used to be there is in the trash. And based on its position, it was very obviously intentionally put there. So I see the trash is filled with just paper. Nothing disgusting. I put on a pair of gloves, I get it out, and I plug it into a little extender, and it still works. And I'm thinking, I just lost mine. I found this in the trash, and it still works. It was very obviously intentionally put there. They got a different one. I don't see why I can't take this. I mean, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So I did take it, and I ended up finding my other charger, but now I have a spare. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, it's not even finders keepers, which, I mean, I guess the morality of that little saying can be called into question. But either way, I maybe I'm trying to convince myself that there's nothing wrong with what I did, but please tweet me at James Freel Show on Twitter and let me know what you think. Do you think that I was violating an ethic? What do you believe? Jeez, get the words out, James. Do you believe that my acts were unethical? And if you do, maybe I should. But it's in the trash. It was in the trash. What are you gonna do? All right, now I officially did plow through all my topics. I gotta tell you what, I can't believe that football season is already here tomorrow. You know where here's something. What I'm doing tomorrow is I will be at this is gonna narrow down the potential of knowing who I am. I graduated from the University of Cincinnati, and they are playing Miami University at Paul Brown Stadium tomorrow. The UC Bearcats are making an unprecedented 12th appearance. I think there's like a 12-game winning streak, and I am actually really nervous because it's been a long, long time And I'm not really that attached to my high school's football team. UC versus Miami football. Let's see what the old Wikipedia has to say about this. It's called the Victory Bell. We've had it for the past, and there were a few games. I think it was 2 years ago. The game was amazing. Oxford. I think it was last. No, it might have been the year before. I went to the game in 2015, and then 2016. Yeah, it was last year's game. Was amazing. I thought they had us beat last year. We were down 17-7. Then we got a touchdown. They had the ball, and then a pick six. It was amazing. But we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12! We've won the last 12, and we've won the last 13 of the last 14 games. So I will be pretty bummed out if that streak comes to an end and I have to witness it. And here's the other thing. Miami leads 59-56. So we've got a chance to overtake it. We do. We really do. I think looks like the last time they were really dominant was when Ben Roethlisberger was there. Good old Ben. I can't wait for him to retire because he makes my Sundays a nightmare. Oh, that's something I didn't mention. I joined a fantasy football league. Did I mention this last week? I'm going to talk about it again. Every year I always told myself, oh, I'm going to try fantasy football. This year I finally tried it. I think I got a decent team, but I did not auto draft. There was only like 3 of us. There were 10 total, and only 3 of us actually drafted. I made a trade today that I think I made out pretty well. But the guy I traded with, he was really after... He had Russell Wilson, I had Tom Brady, and he just wanted to make that trade. And I'm like, nah, I feel really comfortable with Tom Brady. But he had Ezekiel Elliott, and I have that new Barkley guy, that new running back. And he hasn't been proven. I know he's extremely highly rated, but I think Zeke's got a chip on his shoulder. I'm a bandwagon Cowboys fan. That's weird to say because they weren't even that good last year. But really, it's just because when I grow to like something or someone, I tend to start liking what they like. And one of my favorite television shows of all time is King of the Hill. And in that show, Hank Hill is a Cowboys fan. So I sort of hopped on the Cowboys bandwagon. It's one of my favorite episodes where he tries to make that Cowboys tape to convince them to move to their city for their training camp. That's a classic one. I've always meant to, I'm rambling. That's the point of this section. But let me know what you think of that trade. Tom Brady and Barkley for Russell Wilson and Ezekiel Elliott. Let me know. How pathetic is this? Pretty pathetic. Begging people to tweet at me, just so I can validate that maybe someone out there is listening. Maybe not. Probably. It probably is. Probably is. Oh geez, I got still about a minute and a half to kill. So it's supposed to be a torrential downpour tomorrow. So we will see how it goes. If you're listening to this, James, in the future, you know exactly how it went. So tell me about it. Let me know. Maybe I die. Maybe I die tomorrow. Who knows? That'll be really weird. Yeah, there's that shooting that just happened. Now I'm going to a massive area. I can't live like that. Oh, I don't know how I feel about Paul Brown Stadium. I hate how the chairs are green and the team is orange. I mean, it's kind of complimentary, but it's a little odd. I really liked the outer design of Riverfront Stadium. I've got a koozie that has a very detailed drawing of the old... But it says the jungle on it, and I don't think that's... The Bengals adopted that as their stadium until Paul Brown. Who knows? All right, folks, that is the podcast for this week. Thank you so much for listening. If you did listen, my name is James Freel. This has been The James Freel Show.